Yeah, I heard he's cracked out. He's currently in my chat, but you know, he's bis, I heard.
I think we can make something work, Baboon, for the greatest AOE of all time.
Hi, Baboon. I was talking about you earlier. I said there are S tier healers like Coco Lily and Baboon. I know I'm not as good as them, but
Geez, man, give me one day, and I'll upload the damn guide.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, I'm going to be going in depth on AOE healer and how to perform at the highest level possible. Before moving on, I would like to say that I have been AOE healing competitively for the last 9 months. I have joined the top East Coast and West Coast companies alongside playing as a mercenary for multiple companies on around 5 to 6 servers. I have over 700 wars played across multiple accounts, so you are going to be getting the most up-to-date and accurate info possible. There is tons of guys out there on healing, but lots of them are from players who don't actually war often. Now, with all that being said, let's get right into the video. The first thing we are going to be talking about today is the attribute page. There is really only 2 attribute pages to worry about, and that is going to be the 150 Constitution with the rest Focus and the 50 Constitution with the rest Focus. For the 50 Constitution playstyle, it is going to feel like you have a target on your back. You're going to be very squishy. However, the upside is that you will be putting out the most amount of heals as an AOE healer. Your Sacreds will be taking for about 1500 with a full 3 stack of Intensify. So the playstyle is very, very fun, but it also has downsides, as if you die, you lose out on heals. The other playstyle is going to be the 150 Constitution playstyle. I do not recommend going to 200 Constitution here. The 10% increase to physical and elemental armor is not enough to warrant this perk as a light armor player currently, in my opinion. I have way more success with 150 con. I have never ever had any success with 200 con. My heals feel very, very cheap, and the mitigation is just currently not enough in light armor. For the gear, it is going to be very, very simple to talk about. It's going to come down to 3 mandatory life staff perks and 2 mandatory side perks as well. For the life staff perks, we do want to be going for Keen Beacon. We want to be going for Fortifying Sacred Ground as well. And last but not least, we do have the Mending Protection on our life staff. And if you cannot get this currently on your life staff, then you must get it on an armor piece, and this is going to be this piece here. The difference is 20% healing, which is massive, so if you can get this on a weapon, please do it. And the only way you'd want to get this on a weapon is if you can roll a best in slot life staff, which is going to be Bliss, Refreshing Move, and Mending Protection. But let's go into that in a little bit later. The other 2 mandatory perks that I did want to mention is going to be Resilient and Refreshing Evasion. As you can see here, we do have Physical Aversion, but this third perk is not going to be mandatory. You must make sure that you do have Resilient and Refreshing Evasion on your gear. These 2 perks are going to be the best source of survival as well as high uptime. So I'm just going to go through the line here of my gear. We're going to be starting from bottom to top, and then we will be moving into the jewelry and as well as the weapon. So for the hat here, as you guys can see, we do have Resilient, Physical Aversion, and Refreshing Evasion. For the third perk, you could take Elemental Aversion, Physical Aversion, Freedom, Shrinking Fortification. It really comes down to playstyle, but currently there is a lot of muskets and bows that do like to attack me, so I do prefer a full Physical Aversion and Elemental Aversion sets. For the chest piece here, we do have a simple Elemental Aversion chest as well with Resilience and Refreshing Evasion, and as you can see here, it's going to be just a common theme with my gear: Resilient, Refreshing Evasion, Life Staff perk, or third perk as well. For the light legs here, we do have Resilient, Refreshing Evasion, and Shrinking Energy. Some people do not prefer to have Shrinking Energy, and I kind of be in the right to say that this perk is very not mandatory. This is a very, very dog tier perk currently, so you could replace Shrinking Energy with Elemental Aversion or any third perk of your choice. And of course, I did show you guys my boots with Fortifying Sacred Ground. For the jewelry, there is many options to choose from, and as you guys can see here, I have one of the options available. That is going to be Health, Refreshing Evasion, and Stamina Recovery. There is a very common theme right now in most healer builds and just builds in general, and that is going to be Stamina Recovery. This perk right now with the Greatsword in the game is going to make you survive a little bit stronger. Right now, the Greatsword, you guys know, it's going to track you in your dodge, it's going to chase you, it's going to lunge at you. You guys already know how strong this weapon is, but for the other options on your amulet, you could opt to take Health, Refreshing Evasion, Thrust Protection, Slash Protection. You could even opt to take off of Refreshing Evasion and go Health, Thrust Protection, Stamina Recovery, or Health, Slash Protection, Stamina Recovery. It really comes down to your preference, but this guide is really meant for AOE healers, and I'm going to say I do prefer the Refreshing Evasion over any type of third defensive perk. I do love the Refreshing Evasion. I do love to have high uptime, and this is what I'm going to recommend. For the ring, you really cannot get any better than Hardy, Sacred, Refreshing, Evasion. You need Hardy to get more stamina, you need Sacred for the outgoing healing, and you need the Refreshing Evasion to make sure that you get more cooldown reduction. For the earring, it is really going to be the same situation as the ring that we just talked about. These are the 3 best perks that you would like. You want to have Refreshing Toast, Refreshing Evasion, and Healthy Toast. You are going to be drinking so much mana potions. And speaking of mana potions, Healthy Toast actually does stack with Intensify. So the 30% healing does work with Healthy Toast. I'm going to actually show you guys this here so you guys do not think I am joking around. Let me find my Void Gauntlet here. Let me suck my HP off here. And we are going to actually test how much our mana potion heals without Intensify. And that is going to be 2164, so 2164 here. So let's wait 5 seconds for our mana pot to actually come off cooldown as well while we suck ourselves here. And once I'm done sucking myself, I am going to pop Intensify on one of the dummies here and show you guys the actual amount of healing that you can get. So we do have 3 stacks of Intensify. We are going to pop our mana potion. That is going to be almost 3,000 healing on our Healthy Toast. That is insane, and that is going to make sure that you are very, very healthy during a war after you pop a mana potion. For the weapon, we do have the Blessed, Refreshing Move, and Mending Protection Life Staff. This is going to be the best in-slot Life Staff that you could possibly get in the entirety of this game, most likely. I don't think there's ever going to be another Life Staff that you can get that is going to increase your healing as much as this one. If you cannot afford this one by any means, then you can get the Blessed, Refreshing Move, and Refreshing Evasion Life Staff, which is going to be the Liver of Prometheus. For the side weapons here, we do have 2 options to go for, and that is going to be either the Void Gauntlet here or the Rapier. Let me find my Rapier here for you guys. So both options are very viable currently in this meta, but right now I do highly recommend the Rapier instead. There is too many backline divers and offensive killers right now that I do not think the Void Gauntlet is very viable. If you die with the Void Gauntlet, you lose out on so much heals, and if you have a Rapier and you can survive, you will eventually out heal a Void Gauntlet player. So right now I would recommend the Rapier. But however, let's talk about the Void Gauntlet here just in case you do decide to run this weapon. We need Blessed 100%. That is going to increase the healing on our Orb of Decay, which we will talk about in a bit after we go over the build guide and armor as well. So for the second perk here, we do want to get Nullifying Oblivion. As you can see here, it is going to make our Oblivion come up 14% faster. And for this build, Oblivion is actually going to be the core part of this build. It is going to make sure we get high Refreshing Evasion ticks from the likes of Invigorating Oblivion here. This is not my AOE healing shirt. I don't know why I have Void Blade. I was probably just messing with it earlier. But anyways, Invigorating Oblivion here is going to be the reason why we do run a Void Gauntlet. As we can see here, let me drain my stamina. We do have 10% stamina. We're going to pop Oblivion down. And as you can see here, my stamina is going insanely fast. We get about 15 stamina per tick, and we can get about 4 to 5 ticks depending on our usage of Oblivion. And that is going to work quite well as we do run Refreshing Evasion. For the Rapier here, we just have a basic focus Rapier. As the perks on the Rapier, we really do not need much. Sudden Riposte could be good, but if I'm being real with you guys, I have never seen anyone get hit with a Riposte. So this 24% damage absorption reduction on the target is very useless. Another option is going to be Keen and Keen Speed. Keen to get the critical strikes and Keen Speed on your critical strikes to start running fast. Unfortunately, the Keen Speed does not stick with you if you swap weapons, so if you do get a critical strike, make sure to stay with your Rapier until the duration is done. As for the Heartrune, the Greater Heartrune of Stoneform is going to be your best in-slot option. We do have 2 passives on this Heartrune, and that is going to be the Fortifying Form as well as the Hardened Form. The Fortifying Form is going to increase your damage absorption by 10% while active, and the Hardened Form is going to gain an additional 10% damage absorption for 5 seconds per hit taken. That is going to max out at 30%. There is another option that you guys can choose, and that is going to be a different variation of the Stone Form. I currently do not have it on this character, so I will just post it in the video itself, and that Stone Form is going to heal you for a percentage of your HP as well as give you Fortify. I don't know exactly if the Greater Heartrune of Stoneform actually applies to the Fortify cap like I said, so this Heartrune could actually be better than the one that I listed. For the consumables, we pretty much just have infused health potions, mana potions as well to work for the Healthy Toast, regen potions, and oak flesh. You could opt for gemstone, but right now currently in this meta there is way more physical damage being output, so you do want to absorb the physical damage by 30% as well. For the gem split up here, it really just comes down to your personal preference. As you guys can see here, I do have a 10% elemental and physical resistance splits. It really comes down to your playstyle. Sometimes I do run a slash protection or thrust protection amulet. That's going to bust up my resistance to 20% to that certain amulet. I really do think in this meta you need at least 10% elemental damage resistance. A lot of people are starting to put elemental damage gems in their weapons, so you do want to be fortified on this as well. Next up, we have the AOE healing tree. This is my AOE healing tree here. As you can see here, we do not opt to take Divine Blessing, because if we did take Divine Blessing, we would have to take Sacred Protection, which we do not need as an AOE healer. AOE healers are usually placed in a Dex group or some sort of group that is really not beneficial and going to be in the main army, so we don't really ever need to take this unless we are in a main army group, such as a point group or a bruiser group, but that very rarely ever happens, and there's usually another single target healer in there that already has this, so you do not want to be taking this. As I said before, we do not want to get Divine Blessing. If we do end up going for this perk, we have to drop Protector's Touch as well as Radiance's Blessing, which we never want to do. This is going to mess with our Fortify. This is going to mess with our survivability, and this is going to make our beacon not last as long as possible, which we do not want for max uptime. The healing that you get from Divine Blessing as an AoE healer is going to be not as valuable, because as you can see here, most of our healings are heals over time. Basically, we do not have a big instant cast heal like Divine's Brace, so healing below half for 30% more is really not going to be beneficial. You'd rather have these passives such as Protector's Touch and Radiance's Blessing. The other option for the AoE healing tree is going to be this exact one here. The only difference is that we will not be taking Enchanted Justice, and in place of Enchanted Justice, we will be taking Glowing Focus. Glowing Focus is not as valuable as you guys think. People do have Nullifying Oblivion, and you are going to be putting so much Fortify, so much heals over time that you just do not need to make them 20% longer. The amount of refreshing that you guys run, the amount of refreshing evasion that you guys run, especially with the Revitalized tree here, which is going to reduce all of our life staff cooldowns by 5%, and as well here, we do have refreshing move on our life staff, but we will be talking about this in a little bit. We do not really need the 20% longer on our buffs. You guys would rather have Enchanted Justice. It's 2 minutes, but the AoE heal that you do get, especially when you do have a 3-stack of Intensify, is going to be a lot of heals over time for 6 seconds. It does not seem like a lot since it's only a 2-minute cooldown. However, it really does add up over the entire course of a war. So once again here, this is the build that I do recommend. This is going to be my Void Gauntlet AoE healing tree. We will be talking about Orb of Decay. As I said earlier on, the Blessed will be working with this ability, and the whole way to use this is going to be... Actually, let me put on my Void Gauntlet here. You're going to throw this ability out. You're going to let it come through an ally, and then you're going to pop the orb. That time I did not pop it just to show you guys that it can go through the ally. So let me get my cooldown back on the orb here as well. So we're going to throw it out. It's going to pass through our ally, and then we are going to detonate the orb with the Detonating Orb perk here as well. So it's going to heal for 70% healing to all friendlies in a little radius, and some AoE healers actually do not do this, but this is the little secret that I have done over the course of many months that's gotten me to rank 1 heal pretty much in like 90% of the wars that I do. So like I said before, we're going to throw out the orb, let it come through our heal, come through our ally, and then we're going to pop the orb for the heal. So it's going to come back here, and we're going to pop the orb here. As you saw here, the orb goes through the ally, and then we pop it here at the end of the travel time, just to make sure that we do get the healing over time as well as the detonating orb healed as well. We do have a pretty standard Rapier healing tree. It's going to consist of the Refreshing Strikes to reduce all Rapier cooldowns by 1% on any hit, which is going to be 3 over post, and fletch as well if you do decide to fletch through an enemy to get the keen speed proc, hopefully. And we do have controlled breathing as well, which is going to work on riposte and fletch as well for the 3 stamina on any hits. And we do have the Red Currents passive as well, which is also going to reduce all cooldowns by 5% if we do get a critical strike. So basically, pretty much we're going to bank on critical strikes to reduce our cooldowns, to try to escape and get our Rapier cooldowns as fast as possible. All right, now that I've gone over everything that I could possibly think of in depth, we will be talking about the AoE healing rotation and its healing priority. Pretty much at the start of a war, we want to make sure at all times that we do have Intensify up. At the start of the war, the enemies will be coming out of the war camp or the fort, depending on which side you are on. So as soon as you guys see enemies starting to walk forward, you want to get your Intensify up to 3 stacks as soon as possible. And the first set of rotations is going to make sure that you have Intensify up. That is the first step, 3 stacks of Intensify. And we're going to dodge as well to get the 20% healing buff in the right side of the tree here called Bend Light. So we want to make sure that we have this as well. And once we get Bend Light, it is also going to give us 20% more healing from Protector Strength, which is going to make sure that we have a buff after we dodge, which is also going to give the 20% healing. So 3-second intensify, dodge, and we are going to cast Orb of Protection. We're going to cast Beacon, and we're going to cast Sacred Ground in that order. And then we are going to start dodging and left clicking as well to make sure we properly get our refreshing evasion ticks as well. And every time our intensify is going below 3 seconds here, as you guys see, it's going down 10, 9, 8. You guys get the idea. Once it hits to 3 seconds or 4 seconds, we want to heavy attack to refresh our intensify as well. We always want to make sure that we dodge only when 3 of our abilities are on cooldown, as well. As you guys see down here, 3 abilities are on cooldown. That is the only time you want to dodge with refreshing evasion. You want to make sure you get full value out of this as well. So now that we got the rotation done, the basic rotation is going to be Orb, Beacon, Sacred. Now what do I do after that as well? So you pretty much, the rotation is going to be just Orb before any ability, and then whatever's next. So if Beacon's coming up cooldown before Sacred, then cast your Orb first, then your Beacon. However, if Orb of Protection, if Sacred Ground is coming up before your Beacon, then you can cast your Orb and then your Sacred. Pretty much the idea is Orb of Protection first and then your second ability. As for the placement of our heals, we want to make sure we are not aiming directly at allies. We're going to pretend this little guy here is our ally. We want to make sure that we aim at the feet of players to make use of the AOE effect from Orb of Protection, which is going to be called Aegis. It has a 3-meter radius, so you want to aim at the feet of players. The same thing applies to Beacon as well. If we throw the Beacon into a clump of enemies, there is a chance that Great Axes with their Maelstrom ability here, let me go to the Great Axe tree to show you guys what I mean. The Maelstrom is going to eat enemy projectiles as well as allies, I believe. So it consumes all projectiles while Maelstrom is active, which includes allies, I believe. So we do not want to aim directly in clumps. And the same goes for Sacred Ground as well. Aim at their feet. Pretty much aim at their feet, guys. That's the only tip I could give you for placements as well. Now that's going to be the basic AOE healing rotation as well. Now, since we have a Void Gauntlet in our offhand here, the rotation is actually going to be a little bit different, but the basics still apply. Orb of Protection first, Beacon, Sacred, then start dodging, and then Orb of Protection as your first priority, and then Beacon or Sacred, which one is ever up. However, with the Void Gauntlet, we do have Oblivion as well here, which is going to give us stamina on usage. So the entire goal is to bust our life staff cooldowns as well. So we're going to Orb, Beacon, Sacred, and then we're going to swap to our Void Gauntlet. Orb of Protection, Orb of Decay. Make sure we let it go through our allies here, and then we're going to pop the Orb like I said earlier in the other Void Gauntlet tip. And then we are going to cast our Oblivion and then swap back to life staff and then start light attacking as well. We do want to make sure that we do have Intensify before we do place our next set of healing abilities, but everything from the prior rotation and Intensify stacking applies to Void Gauntlet healing as well. Alright, to give you guys a visual representation of what the actual healing rotation looked like, let's do it real quick. We're going to make sure we have our 20% healing buff, we're going to make sure we have Intensify, we're going to bust all of our life staff cooldowns, Orb, Beacon, Sacred. We're going to toss out our Orb of Decay, let it come back through our ally, pop the Orb, and then pop Detonate, and then start left clicking away. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much covers everything I have to teach you guys today. The next step is for you guys to actually get out there and practice. Take everything that is valuable to you in this video and apply it to Outpost Rush as soon as possible, just to get you guys some practice before you guys actually step foot into wars. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as the like button. Don't forget to leave a comment if you guys have any questions below about anything in today's video. You guys know I am more than happy to help you guys, but once again, thank you guys so much for watching in today's video. I hope I taught you guys something, and peace, baby.